Hey guys, Nick here, and welcome back to another Flash episode review. My thoughts on last night's episode of Flash titled Dead or Alive. And I apologize for this video coming later than I would have wanted to do. There's a bit of a medical emergency and that I had to help with last night that, it made me unable to watch or review the show last night. And I was able to watch the show this morning, but I didn't have enough time to review it before I left for work. So here I am at around 6:30 p.m. on Wednesday recording this. So here are my thoughts on last night's episode of Flash. And honestly, I think this so far is one of the most fun episodes of the show so far, or at least of this season. Because this season has been very just okay, not great. Just because I feel like the whole Savitar thing, I'm just kind of tired of having a speedster as a villain. So that's where the week to week stuff dealing with Savitar and stuff, and it's just I know it kind of feels like just been there, done that. But with this episode, it was pretty much like a villain of the week, but they made it interesting enough to where I felt like I actually cared about the villain to an extent, because I feel like Gypsy was interesting enough because you had the chemistry built between her and Cisco because of them having the same powers essentially, and it was really cool seeing Cisco finally suit up in this episode as Vibe, and I'm really happy that they kept his. It looks pretty much spot on to his current Vibe look from the New 52 in DC Comics. So honestly, I was a little worried as to what the suit was actually going to look like when they finally got around to actually having him suit up as Vibe. And honestly, I think he looks really great. And it was cool. This episode, it was kind of like a random episode to have him finally suit up officially as Vibe. Yes, he's been calling himself Vibe for the last year. So it was that. Almost, I feel like the Vibe thing, he should have earned it, not necessarily all of a sudden I'm Vibe. Yes, he said he has Vibe powers, but I feel like the name almost has to come with the suit. But that's just a little thing. But overall, I still like the suit. And in this episode, I really my favorite part was the battle between him and Gypsy, and just seeing their chemistry. And I don't know, there's just something of having a female equivalent of Vibe that has I don't know, it was just cool seeing Cisco finally have his own episode for once that wasn't necessarily just him having to deal with his his brother's death or whatever. Something that was actually fun and it was funny and it was really enjoyable, and that's how I felt about this episode. And to get into more of the specifics about this episode, so in this episode, obviously we see Gypsy going after HR, and honestly, I'm really not sure where the Flash is going with this new Wells. As much as the character is just okay to me, I kind of feel like the showrunners are kind of just finding excuses to keep Wells around every year, So because I finally got to a point where I was liking the previous Wells, and then now they're doing this thing with this brand new Wells, and it just there's nothing really interesting to me about this current Wells. He's just he's not much of a genius, and I just feel like there's not much going on with this character that makes me want to watch him week after week. So I feel like with all the criticisms of this current Wells is going to make them go oh, now we're going to need a different Wells for fourth season. And I'm really just I don't know. I like Tom Cavanaugh and his performance of the character overall in the last couple of seasons. Tom Cavanaugh is usually a friendly, goofy kind of guy, at least in the show. And I just find that the fact that this current Wells is, because he's not particularly smart, or just he doesn't feel like a real character to me. He feels more like a caricature, and that's where that's just my biggest problem with the character and kind of this episode in general. And so it's just it's hard for me to be invested in a character that I haven't really been invested in all season, because they kind of just threw him in there just because they wanted to change things up with the Wells character. And to me, just what they're doing currently isn't something I'm really all for. So there's that. But another problem in this episode that I kind of just, this whole season so far, and I feel like every CW show does this, is just I really hate what they're doing by keeping Joe in the dark about Iris's death. And it's just, why can't these people in these shows just be honest? I finally gave Barry credit for just being straight up with Iris last week, but yet they can't just do this and just be honest with Joe and let him know that, hey, your daughter's gonna die, and we're doing literally everyone knows but him. And it's just like you're creating unnecessary conflict in the show, and I feel like they do this sort of thing all the time, whether it's Barry's secret or something else going on. It's like I feel like they have to always have a character in the dark about something, and it doesn't make for good TV. It's just repetitive, and like every show does it, and it's just really infuriating because there's a lot more they could be doing with the story, and they don't need to keep going back to the same thing of like, oh, there's this deep dark secret, and this one person can't know because it'll emotionally destroy them, and blah blah blah. And like you're making these characters are making it worse by keeping it a secret, and it's just I really wish they wouldn't be doing that to Joe, because Joe's already been through enough as it is in his life. And Joe's one of my favorite characters in the show. I just don't want to see him be more emotional about this whole situation. And I know just them doing this is going to make him even more emotional because they're lying to him. And I hope if they are going to reveal it next week or the week after. Just get it over with, because I don't want this to be a thing that drags on like for like weeks and weeks and weeks. And have it be a thing where it builds up and then it ruins like Joe's relationship with Iris and Barry, or just Joe's relationship with Barry and the team. I don't want there to be that unnecessary conflict, but you know, the writers did that to themselves by introducing this whole thing. So there's that. But well, speaking of Joe and you know the West family, I really found myself enjoying Iris's storyline in this episode, and her kind of teaming up with Wally, because they're finding this gang that are hoarding all of these futuristic tech, or all these futuristic weapons. And I liked how they teamed up, and how Iris kind of went behind Joe's back and was kind of telling him and inferring that Iris and Barry were trying to have a kid or something, and Joe just had this very awkward and yet scared expression on his face, and he was all worried. And then in that time, Wally took the sheet off Joe's desk to find the location for the gang. I found that really funny, and it's just cool seeing Iris being utilized more in the show now. Now seeing her back at CCPN and actually out in the field reporting, because to Iris, and then they explain this in the episode, that's what makes her feel like she's doing something worthwhile and that she's making a dent in history, And I really find that I feel like this, what they're doing with her currently and just having her fleshed out more, is something, an Aussie thing they should have been doing with her from the beginning of the show. And last season, they sidelined her for Patty Spivot, and I'm not going to go into that again, because I've talked enough about my problems with that storyline and how they sidelined Iris. But they're finally finding themselves, making Iris the character she is in the comics, and I find that very enjoyable. And honestly, I think Candice Patton deserves it, because Candice Patton is one of my favorite actresses or actors from the show. She always has. Even as I go back and watch first season, she's never delivered a poor performance, and I feel like every week she gets better and better, little by little, and I find myself always enthralled with her performance as Iris West. So that's where I get so frustrated sometimes when the writers sideline her during big things. She's Iris has there's been 3 crossovers now, and Iris has only had a minor scene or a couple of scenes in the crossovers, and it's really frustrating, because I want Iris to be featured more in the show, and I feel like they're starting to get there, but I feel like it's taking them too long to get there. So I just want them to show Iris more, kind of what they're doing with Wally. They're finally having Wally out there as Kid Flash and doing his thing, and I'm really liking that. And I'm really glad they're focusing on the West family this year, and they're having them more out in the field and out doing more instead of just hanging out in Star Labs with the rest of the team. So I found that really, really good. It's definitely an improvement for the rest from the rest of the season. And overall, I mean, I found myself really enjoying this episode despite some of my issues with it. I love the fight between Vibe and Gypsy with it as they're going through all the Earths, and then you see them actually Cisco land in the Catco office from Supergirl and Supergirl's Earth. So that was really cool. There's a lot of stuff going on that I really enjoyed. But yeah, with that being said, I think that's actually going to be it for me. So what did you guys think of this episode? Send your thoughts in the comment section below. Give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for all the other content I'll be putting up. And yeah, that's going to be it for me. So until next time, guys, have a good one.